Okay, let's get started here. My name is Jim McCloskey, and today we're starting math. This is math section 2. We just did section 1 earlier, and a little bit of redundancy here, seeing some of the things I said at the beginning of the other disc also, is that on the state exam, you're going to have between 4 and 6 math equations, and that's it. You're not going to have more than that, and you're going to be able to get all of those right. We go over those in class in great detail. And even if you missed all 5 of them on the state exam, you're still going to pass the state exam. So don't get frustrated with math, and don't get hung up on math. Some people get the math down and blow the rest. Don't do that. Take everything in stride as we're going through. There's just too much else to study to get hung up on math. Now, let's talk about generalities. First of all, what is math? Math is really just an interaction of 2 numbers, is all it is. Even Sir Isaac Newton, when he was deciding calculus, when he invented calculus, calculus is nothing but the Earth and its distance to the planets and to the stars. That's just an interaction of 2 numbers. And so when you bring it down to its simplest form, that's where you want to bring it. Don't try to make it something that it really isn't. It isn't this huge monster. And the beauty about this part of the course is it's not really math so much as money and property. And isn't that what our industry is all about? The money and the property. When you're working as a real estate broker, the money comes first and then the property. You say, well, what about the people? Well, the people are the money. The money and then the property. But if you're looking for a home you're going to buy yourself, then the property comes first and then the money. But no matter what, the money and the property come first. And today we're going to be talking about how to figure commissions. We're going to figure out how to do assessed valuations, cap rates, gross rent multipliers, all kinds of fun stuff coming at you. How to figure square footages, how to work some negatives and positives as far as depreciation goes. So just kind of go with the flow today. And we're going to put virtually every one of these on the board. Now some of them were not. And it's because some of them are just really pretty simple. But the ones, virtually every one of them we're going to put on the board. And you're not going to leave here today knowing how to do every one of these. That's not the purpose. Because at the end of these you have all of your answers. So you can go home and study. If you wrote down the wrong formula or whatever, you can always check it against the answers at the end of that section right there. So, are there any questions about anything before we get started? Let's do it then. Let's go to question number 1. Morning. Who else came in late? Help him find out where we are, guys. And everybody has their name tense, I hope. If you don't, please come and get it. And that marker's wandering around the room somewhere to put your name on the tents. Okay. Let's look at this number 1 here. First of all, approximately how much concrete is needed to construct a 30-foot driveway that's 18 feet wide and 4 inches thick? What's the first thing we're going to do on this?
Convert the feet to inches or the inches to feet? Make them the same metric?
Convert the inches to feet or feet to inches or whatever.
Make them equivalent?
I think that'd probably be step number 2, definitely one of the steps. Well, what? Let's figure out the total square footage. Total square footage. And again, it's what, 30 times 18. So 30 times 18 is... Oh, and by the way, there's calculators in the back there, guys. Grab them, and there are black boxes back there. There's pencils back there. Just grab one and keep it. Okay, so what's the square footage? What's that come to?
540.
540. Now, if this concrete was a foot thick, we'd have 540 cubic feet. But it's not. It's 4 inches thick. And 4 inches is 1/3 of a foot. So we divide that by... We're going to divide that by 3. And what's that come to? 180 cubic feet. That's 180 cubic feet. Everybody see why we did this? Divided by 3. remember if it was a foot, it'd be 540 cubic feet. But because it's only 4 inches, we divide it by 3. So we have 180 cubic feet of concrete. Now, the issue is that all of our answers are in cubic yards. How many square feet in a square yard?
9?
9.
Yeah.
How many cubic feet in a cubic yard?
27.
27. You guys, boy, right off the bat, you're with it. Cool. 180 divided by 27, and that comes to 6.666, whatever. Yeah. And the answer is D. That's the closest one that fits it there. Now you're not turning these in, so make all your notes that you want to on this sheet, everything that you need. Now,
What does cubic mean?
cubic. Let's look at this. First of all, let's do this. We got there's a square yard. Each one of those is a square foot. So 3 times 3 is 9. There's 9 square feet in a square yard. Now let's cube it. Nine plus 9 plus 9. There's 27 cubic feet in a cubic yard, just like Rubik's Cube. So, and do you need to know that? Oh yeah, you need to know that, guys, for real life too. So, again, how many, there's a list that we have. That when you're sitting down to take the state exam, that you might want to put on the left or the right side of your scratch paper when you're taking the state exam. And on our spindle out here, we have a list of just my suggestions about what you might want to put there. How many square feet in an acre, how many acres in a section, sections in a township, blah, 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 blah. And I've got that sheet. And if you're looking at this on DVD, it's in your 3-ring binder somewhere. But if you want to, we'll just fax it on over to you. Next time you're in, go ahead and grab one. And again, it's the sheet that you're going to use to put your stuff on the side of your exam, of your scratch paper when you're taking the exam, is what that is. So let's go to number 2. A broker received half of his first month's rent as a commission for leasing an apartment and 5% of each month's rent thereafter for collecting the monthly rent of $275. What would be the broker's total fee after 18 months? So, let's get the first month out of the way. 275 divided by 2. 275 divided by 2, that's 137.50 on the first month, right? Then they see he said received what? 5%. So does 275 times 5%, what's that come to?
$13.75.
$13.75. Is that, and what do we multiply that by?
18.
18?
17.
We already used 1 month, didn't we? That's the tricky part of this one, guys. You multiply it by 17. If you do 18, that answer is going to be there, right? So just times 17. What's that come to? Everybody see why it's 17 and not 18?
Yes.
Okay.
$233.75.
233.75 plus the 137.50, and the answer to this one, of course, is C. 371.25. Like I say, in this isn't really math so much as it is function of real estate. We're going to be talking about leases, property management, depreciation, on and on. And to keep everything kind of in order here, let's skip over to number 21. 21. If a property manager receives 8% of the $45,000 gross income for the first year and 9% of net income of $28,000 per year for the next 2 years, what would their fee be? How do we start this one? How about taking the 45,000 times the 8%? What do you think? So again, 45,000 times 8% comes to,
3,600.
so 3,600. Now, then it says he's going to get 9% of the net income of 28,000. So 28,000 times 9%, what's that come to?
25.
20.
2520. 2520. So we take that and we add, and then that 2520 is for 2 years, isn't it? So we multiply that times 2, what's that give us? 240. How much?
50, 40.
5040. So we have 5040 plus the 3600, and now we've got it. It's 8640. 8640 is the answer. And like I said, I'm going to be going too fast for you to maybe even write these down and think them through sometimes. But that's okay. Again, this is study material for you too. Let's go to number 31. 31. A commercial tenant enters into a percentage lease with a base rent of $800 per month plus 7% of the gross sales volume. If gross sales are $162,000 and operating expenses are $64,800 in the first year, what would be the first year's rent? What's the first thing we should do? Let's figure out what the base is. It's $800 a month, right, times 12. 800 times 12, so we have a base rent of 9,600. And then he says that he's paying 7% of the gross sales volume. So 162,000 times 7% comes to
11,340.
11,340. 11,340. Okay. And we add those two together, 9,600. And that comes to C, 20,940. Now let's talk about this. You're going to have one of these on the state exam. And what's going to happen is you've got to realize what they're asking here. They're saying, it'll be a question just like this. We have a lease where there's a set amount plus a percentage of the gross sales. And this is a gross lease. That sounds so good, doesn't it? Because it's on the gross sales. But it's not. It's on a percentage of the gross sales. So it's a percentage lease, not a gross lease. So smile when you see that one on the state exam, because you will have it. Okay? So, and look at what they did here, hidden below the belt. They even gave the operating expenses $64,800. We don't need that. That's just a rabbit trail to get you. Okay. Let's go back to number 3. Number 3. A broker earned $120,000 1 year on sales of $1,650,000. 6% of her earnings were based on a 6% commission on the first $1.2 million in sales. And what was the rate of commission on the remaining 40% of earnings? Okay, now I want to point something out to you guys. When your notes start looking like that, you know you really got this class down. So that's your goal, okay? So let's do it. First of all, this is kind of tricky. We're going to talk about something called the circle. The circle is a wonderful tool for math. what you're going to find, our average student is between 40 and 50 years old. They haven't seen a classroom in 20 years. They haven't seen a math equation in 20 years. But I'll tell you something, don't relate your math to how it beat you up in high school. Because the older you get, the better your mind works toward math. Until you finally start going senile. Up until then, your math really progresses along. You're going to find math easier to digest now than when you were in high school. Plus you have a more concrete incentive now too. So let's do it. First of all, he made what? He sold 1,200,000 and made 6% commissions. Let's do that. 1,200,000. We're going to talk about the circle here in a minute. Times 6%, which comes to 72,000. Then, but that's not how much he sold. He sold 1,650,000, didn't he? 1,650,000 times, or minus, minus the 1.2 mil. 1,200,000. And what's that come to?
450,000.
450,000. Everybody following? 450,000. Now, it also said that we're going to have to subtract this 72,000 from his total earnings on this. 72,000 from the 120,000. So we're going to take again the 42,000, the 72,000 from the 120,000, which gives us what? $48,000. So what we're doing here, we've got two figures. We've got 48,000 and 450,000. Another zero in there. Now, he sold $450,000 worth of real estate and made $48,000. What was his commission rate? Now, let's go to the circle. We're going to do many circles today. And the circle works like this. Whatever happens first in time, whatever happens first, or the whole amount, goes on the lower left. Whatever happens second in time, or a partial amount of that whole, goes on top. The percentage goes on the lower right. Whenever we're working with a percentage or a rate, we can use the circle. So let's build this. What happened first in time? She sold $450,000 worth of real estate. Cool? Ready? Got that? $450,000 worth of real estate. What happened second in time? She made $48,000. $48,000. Top to bottom, you divide. You key in that top number. 48,000 divided by 450,000. And what's that come to?
10.7.
Yeah, it comes to, again, 10.7 or close enough. So, times this divided by that, of course, and it comes to 10.666, whatever, 10.7 to round it off. Now, let's talk about this. Whenever we're working with the circle, top to bottom, you divide. You put the first number in first, the one on top. You divide it by that number, gives us our percentage. If they said we made $48,000 in commission, and that represented a 10.7% commission rate, how much did we sell? This divided by this will give us this. This divided by this will give us this. If they said we sold $450,000 worth of real estate at 10.7%, how much commission did we make? Left to right, we multiply. Top to bottom, you divide. Left to right, you multiply. And I hope you work with this, and I hope you really like this circle. You don't have to. Some students use this circle for a crutch. I use it for a whole hospital. If you don't want to use the circle, knock yourself out. You don't have to. But it really helps you think through these equations. And we'll be doing a bunch of these circles today. So the answer to 3, of course, is A. Now, a salesperson's half of a 5% commission on a $625,000 sale would be how much? You're on your own. This one you got to know how to work out, guys. If commissions aren't important to you, see me after class. I've got a job for you. So, 625,000, and then times 5% divided by 2. You could just take that 5% and divide that by 2. 2.5% of 625,000. That'll work. There's no wrong way to get the right answer, guys. If you do it completely different than I do it up here and you get it, knock yourself out. That's great. That's why we're all individuals here. Everybody looks at things differently. We come to different conclusions. Okay. Number 5. Number 4, of course, is C. Let's go to number 14. 14. A salesperson sells 2.5 sections of land to a subdivider for $500 an acre. Let's stop right there. You've got to know how many square feet there are in an acre. For the state exam, of course. But in real life, people will expect you to know how many square feet there are in an acre. And it's very, very easy to remember. Go 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a 0. And also 4 plus 3 is 7, 5 plus 6 is 11. Should help you out too. So you should be able to have no issue with knowing how big an acre is. Now this is a football field. My artistic ability is why I make a living in real estate, as you'll find out. So don't beat me up too much on my artist. I have no artistic skills at all when it comes. But anyway, how about a football field? A football field is 45,000 square feet. So if you want to picture an acre, picture a football field minus the end zones. And that's how big an acre is. Now it talks about several things here that we're going to get into. 2.5 sections. There's 640 acres in a section. 640 acres in a section. So it says a salesperson sells 2.5 sections of land to a subdivider for $500 per acre. So 2.5 times 43,560. What's that come to? Or that's not right. What am I doing, guys? Bear with me here. Guys, we're again, we're at number 14, okay? We have 602 sections, so 640 times 2.5. 1,600. Teaching math on Monday morning is not, it's not my idea of starting the week off right, so bear with me here, guys. Okay, so we have 1,600 acres, and they're selling for $500 an acre. 1,600 times 500, what's that come to? How much? $800,000. Okay, everybody following so far? Who isn't? Who's lying? Okay, what you got, Sue? Talk to me. Are you okay? Okay. Now, okay, and we're going to make 5% commission on that $800,000. What's that come to? $40,000. That's the total commission, and then the salesperson makes 40% of that.
16,000.
Times 40%, $16,000 is your answer. And there again, just a matter of walking through it, slow and easy. Don't ever rush a math equation. Take your time. On the state exam, you have, first of all, you're going to start off with the general portion of the state exam. You're going to have 90 questions on the general portion. 80 of them count. They have 10 test questions that they throw in there that they may or may not use later. And so you're going to have 90 questions, 80 of them count. And you will have between, again, 4 to 6 math questions on the general portion of the state exam. And you'll have 2 hours to complete it, which is more than enough time. And then when you get done with the general portion, you go to the Colorado portion. The Colorado portion has 80 questions. 74 of those count. There are 6 test questions they may use later. And you'll have no math on the Colorado portion at all. 0. So on the general portion, you have 2 hours to complete 80 questions, essentially 90 questions. Time is not an issue. Time is not an issue on that state exam at all. When we get to the Colorado portion, we'll talk about this in greater detail about how the test is lined up by the state and everything else that goes with it. So, you will know better what's going on when that happens, when we get to that point. Okay. Let's go back to number 5. Number 5. If the interest rate is 5.25% and the monthly interest payment is $350, what's the principal sum? Whenever we work with interest is always figured on an annual basis, not a monthly basis. So, what's the first thing we have to do?
So 350 times 12.
Very good. 350 by 12. 350 by 12. So, 350 times 12 comes to,
4,200.
and let's get the old circle going. First of all, we have 4,200. What happened first in time? We got a loan. We don't know what that is. That's what we're looking for, is this over here. So, what happened second in time? We paid $4,200 in interest. And what was the interest rate? The rate is 5.25%. Top to bottom, you divide. 4,200 divided by 5.25%.
80,000.
And the answer is 80,000, right? 80,000. Now, they might have said, we're paying $4,200 in interest on an $80,000 loan. What's our rate? They could have said we have an $80,000 loan at 5.25%. We multiply that, and that gives us how much interest
Per year.
that we're paying per year. Is this too cool? Is this circle cool? Hopefully you guys will hope you become addicted to it. So that, because once you get it in front of you, it makes everything flow so much better. But you don't have to. You don't even have to mess with it if you don't want to. It's up to you. Let's go over to number 17. Number 17. What is the annual interest rate on an $80,000 loan when the interest payments are $1,200 per quarter? What do we do first? 4 times 1,200. 1,200 times 4 because it's by the quarter, right? And what's that come to?
4,800.
4,800. This time we know what the loan is. 80,000. Top to bottom we divide. 4,800 divided by 80,000, and that gives us our rate of 6%. 6%. How do we change a percent into a decimal?
Move it over 2 times.
Move it over 2 spaces.
Left.
2 spaces. 0.06 is the same as 6%. When I took the, when was it, 2008, I took the broker's license, then a couple weeks later I went and took the mortgage broker's license at the state. And both times I was down there, their calculators, and it's a cheap hunk of junk calculator that they give you to work on. Both times, my percentage key didn't work. So I just converted everything to decimals. Just for grins. Just to, I didn't want to get up and go get another calculator. So, and again, you can do that too if you want to. Just convert everything to decimals instead of percentages. Whatever works better for you. Okay, let's go back to number 6. A property originally purchased 4 years ago for $475,000 depreciates an average of 3.5% per year. What's the current value of the property? This one's tricky. First of all, we have $375,000. Okay? And that's what it was worth 4 years ago. And it's depreciated an average of 3.5% per year for 4 years. So, there's straight line and declining balance when it comes to depreciation. Let's do a straight line first. The straight line. 4 times 3.5 comes to 14. So 375,000 minus 14%. What's that come to? It comes to A, right? $322,500. So we see that, we mark it, we go on our merry way, but there's a very good chance you might have the same equation and that answer isn't there. 322,500. And if that's the case, then this is like I say, this is declining, this is straight line. Now let's do a declining balance. And this is how depreciation actually works in real life. So instead of doing this, we're going to take 375,000 minus 3.5% equals minus 3.5% equals minus 3.5% equals, and do that 4 times, guys. Every one of you do this. 4 times.
Why am I doing it 4 times?
Because it said there was 3.5% per year for 4 years. So this is the declining balance. And what'd you get?
322,500.
322, 500. Somebody get something different?
I got 325.19.
That sounds more like it. 325,000, 192. Okay. Notice that considerably different. And not last year. I take the state exam every year. The year before last, when I took the state exam, I had 3 math equations that were all declining balance. So I did it straight line, the easy way first, just subtracting that 13% or whatever that percentage was at that time, and that answer wasn't there. So I knew to go to declining balance, and sure enough, that's where it was. Don't let them get you on this, okay? Do it the easy way first, minus the total depreciation. If that answer isn't there, then go to declining balance. And it always works out differently. Guys. Depreciation using the declining balance is how we make our depreciation. Let's say we have a car, guys, and it's worth $100,000, okay, this car. And it's depreciating at 10% a year. On a straight line, after 10 years, it's worth 0, right? What would it be worth if we did a declining balance? Let's try it. 100,000 minus 10% equals minus 10% equals minus 10% equals, you'll never end up at zero. You'll never end up at zero because you're just depreciating the balance right before it. And so that's why it's so important to understand how depreciation works and why when you're working with your business life, you always want to use a declining balance on it. Let me show you an example here. I tell this to my staff, you know, the cost of this course, $1,100, right? And if you, somebody, you know, you pay cash, you get 5% off. Let's say you get something else, we give you another 5% off. And so we can give you 10% off. So 1,100 minus 10%, what's that come to?
990.
990, right? But, and I tell the staff, don't do it that way. That's not how business works.
Do 5%.
Yeah, we take 1,100 minus 5%. What's that equal?
1045.
How much?
1045.
So 1045 minus 5%, and where are we at now?
992.75.
992.75. So I make another $2.75 by going declining balance. See, and that's how we work depreciation, guys. Not cumulative, not straight line, but declining balance. Does that make sense? Let's do it. Let's see how well it stuck with you. Let's go. Actually, we're gonna do that on the next section here. So, anyway, let's go to number 7. A rectangular shaped parcel contains 14 acres. Its width is 800 feet. What's the depth? What's the first thing we have to do here?
43,560 times 14.
Yeah, 43,560 times 14. Some of you are more visual than others. Let's go the visual route. What's that come to square footage wise?
609,840.
609,840? Okay. That's the total square footage for this lot. Now, we know what one side is. One side is 800 feet. How do we find this side?
Divide.
Divide it, guys. Take this, divide it by that, and that gives us this. And yes, you will see one of these on a state exam. Big smile. Those are easy, guys. We're going to go through several of those today. So the answer to this on the course is D-Dog. A real similar one, let's go to number 9. Number 9. How many acres does a parcel of land 660 feet by 660 feet contain? You're on your own. Let's see you work it. 660 times 660.
10.
What's that?
10 acres.
10 acres? Who else? Somebody get something different.
1 acre.
1 acre.
10
Another 1 acre. 10 acre.
10.
1 acre's again. Okay.
There's,
Let's do this. Let's do this one. 660 times 660. Where are we at?
43,560.
435,600, right? Divided by 43,560. And the answer is 10 acres. 10 acres. And guys, they love this one on the state exam. They just love it. Not exactly like this, but pretty darn close. So when you take the state exam and you see this one, you can waste 5 minutes trying to figure it out, or just remember 10. Okay? Big smile when you see that one, and you will have that one on the state exam. You take it back, Steve.
Thank you.
Doing okay?
Yes.
All right, cool.
Very good.
Okay. Okay. Let's go to number 12. Number 12. A rectangular piece of ground has a frontage of 450 feet and a depth of 929.20 at 10,000 per acre, what is the selling price? How do we start this one?
You multiply the depth. by-
Multiply the two figures. I like it. 450 times 629.20. And what's that come to?
418, 140,
4.
18, 140.
I got 283, 170.
I got 283.
What happened, Sam?
I didn't zero.
Try it again. And like I say, every one of these steps do them until you get the same answer twice, too. Okay? And 283,140.
28.
Okay? That is correct.
Divided by
That's the total square footage. And we divide that by
43,560.
43,560, and that gives us
6.5
6.5 acres.
times 10,000.
And they're selling it for $10,000 an acre? $65,000. $65,000. You think sometime you're going to be able to have to work one of these? I guarantee you will. Guarantee you. So again, knowing how to figure out square footage and how to manipulate it, if you will, to work to your client's advantage. Let's go to number 24. 24. A parcel of land has 380 frontage feet and is 4.2 acres in area. What is its depth? Let's draw it out again for the more visual people here. Here's our lot, and what is the total square footage on this?
182.
182,952. Okay. We know what one side is, right? Is 380. And how do we find this one again? We just divide. Divide this by this, and that'll give us that. One's the frontage, the other's the depth. That's how lots are called. The frontage and the depth. Let's go back to number 8. Number 8.
What was the answer for 24?
24.
See,
See?
481 feet.
Okay, let's go to number 8, guys. Now it says how many square feet of concrete would be needed to construct a sidewalk 6 feet wide on the outside of a corner lot measuring 100 feet by 50 feet. Why don't we take a break and work on this? Let's take about a 15-minute break, work on this, and we'll come back and do it together. But work on it, see if you can get it yourself.
What number again, Jim?
That one's going to be number 8. It's right after 7.
I forgot how to get this.
Pardon me?
182 for this.
Mhm.
I don't remember how to get this.
Okay, what you do is you take the total square feet of an acre, 43,560, right? And times, what was that, 280? What's up,
4.2.
Sonny? So 4.2 times 43,560, and that gives you that in the middle there. Then you divide it by the side that you know, that'll give you the side you
I just
don't
couldn't
know.
remember how to get this.
No, that's good, that's why we ask questions. I like to think I have a purpose here, so, thank you. Make me feel useful. Anybody else?
Show me your friends.
So this one's a little tricky. So we got 50 feet and 100 feet. We only have sidewalk on two sides because it's a corner lot. And it's on the outside of the lot, not on the inside. And so it's 6 feet from here to here and 6 feet from here to here. There are so many different ways to do this one. You can take 100 times 6, which is 600, and then take 56 times 6, add those together, and of course the answer is 936. You can take 100 times 6, which is 600, 50 times 6, which is 300, and then just do this little square here, 6 times 6, which is 36, and add those together. You know, there's so many different ways to do this. And this is a perfect example where where we all think differently as far as how we're working this, and there's no wrong way to get the right answer. Okay. While that's happening, let's go to number 9. We did number 9. Number 10. 9,600 is equal to 8% of the price paid for a house. What was the price paid? And then we just draw the circle, really. Whenever we have a percentage, we can do the circle. So we do the circle, and it's 9,600 divided by 8%. Top to bottom we divide. Divided by 8%, and the answer comes to 120,000. 120,000. Keep in mind what you're looking at. Keep your consistencies. Okay, now. And again, this is not the math course, this is math made fun and easy. So, and there's some peculiarities about math also. Like there's 3 kinds of people. Those who know how to count and those who don't. Let's go over to people in the disc are going, yeah, and? Listen to it again if you're on the disc. Listen again. Okay. How about this? Now, you're taking this class a second time. Don't ruin it for everybody else. Who were the first 2 people to ever be shown in bed on primetime TV? In bed together. Lucille Ball.
Dick Van Dyke.
Dick Van Dyke. Actually, it was Fred and Wilma Flintstone.
Real people.
You're not real people. That's probably why they got away with it back then.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, gang. Let's go to page 11. A home buyer wants to borrow
Page 11 or
number 11. What did I say?
Page.
Page 11. Okay, bear with me. I'm still in. Yeah, I'm still in cheering mode from the game yesterday. Bear with me here. A home buyer wants to borrow $100,000. The lender quotes him a loan origination fee of 1 point and a loan discount of 1 point. We talk about points. Every deal you have, you will have points. Whenever you have a loan, you will have points. And a point is simply this. A point is 1% of the loan amount, not the purchase price, 1% of the money, 1% of the loan amount. And every point costs the same. There's 2 different types of points. They both cost the same, 1% of the loan amount. There's the loan origination fee. That's the lender's cost for doing the loan. Again, loan origination fee, the lender's cost for doing a loan. The other one is a discount point. And this is how you buy down the interest rate with the discount point. They both cost the same, 1% of the loan amount. 1% of the loan amount. But they're for 2 completely different purposes. One, again, is what the lender's charging to do the deal. The other one is a discount point. Either the borrower can pay it, the seller can pay it, you can divide it up. You don't even need to have one, especially with the interest rates as low as they are these days. You don't see a lot of discount points, but you could. Now, this discount point costs 1% of the loan amount. It drops the interest rate 1/8%. For the exam, in real life it'll change during the day in real life. But for the state exam, again, a discount point costs 1% of the loan amount, and it drops the interest rate 1/8%. So it takes what? 8 discount points to drop the interest rate a full percentage. From 4 to 3, let's say.
So then you're buying it down 8%?
Am I buying it down 8%? No. Every discount point drops the rate 1/8%.
But you're paying 8% of the loan to drop it 1 point.
No. Okay, I have a $100,000 loan. Okay, how much is the discount point? Let me put on the board. I have a $100,000 loan. How much is the discount point going to cost me? $1,000, right? How much is the loan origination fee going to cost me? $1,000. The same, right? The same. Now, this discount point though, and the interest rate, let's say, is 4%. Okay. The discount point costs $1,000. It'll drop the rate down to 3 7/8. It'll drop the interest rate 1/8%. One more discount point, still the same, $1,000 off the loan amount. Now we're at 3 6/8. Another discount point, we're at 3 5/8. You see that how discount points work? They cost 1% of the loan amount. They drop the interest rate 1/8%.
So to get it to 3%, you're going to pay $8,000.
On this
No.
case,
In that case.
in this
Yes.
case,
Yes.
exactly, I would pay
Right, okay.
$8,000, 8 points,
Right.
okay, to buy it down,
Okay.
a full percentage point. And you just don't see that many points. You'll see 2 or 3 points usually, or some type of loan origin or seller concession on the property to help you get into it. But again, this is such a seller's market right now that you just don't see discount points that often. But you can buy your own rate down if you want to. Okay, so let's keep rocking here. So it says a home buyer, again, number 11. A home buyer wants to borrow $100,000. The lender quotes him a loan origination fee of 1 point. How much is that 1 point going to cost him? $1,000. Good. And a loan origination discount of 1 point. How much is that one going to cost him? $1,000. Good. What size loan must be obtained to pay 2 points and still leave $100,000? How much of a loan are we going to make when we subtract 2% from it? We're back at $100,000. Play with that. See if you can figure it out. What'd you get? I heard B. What else? Who else? Can't I just take that $100,000, add $2,000 to it for the 2 points, $102,000, subtract that $2,000 from it, end back at $100,000? No, I can't do that because I'm working with different percentages for different integers. This is the way to figure this one out. You almost can't do this one without the circle, or at least thinking in terms of what the circle represents. We have this loan amount, and we don't know how much this loan amount is. Okay, first of all, we start off with the loan amount. We don't know how much this loan is, but we do know that it's 100% of what we need, correct? And what happens next is we end up, after we subtract 2%, we end up at $100,000. What is this? This is our 100% figure, what we need after we subtract 2%, or 98% of the figure we're looking for. 98% or 0.98, either one. 98% or 0.98. 100,000 divided by that, what's the answer? The answer is B, $102,041. Why wouldn't it be $102,000? Subtract 2% from 102,000. What do you get? What do you get? 99,000, real close to 100,000, but not quite, right? This is exactly, it has to be exact. Math is a science, it's an exact science. Now, why couldn't, again, we just have 100,000, add 2% to it, get 102,000, subtract 2%, get back at 100? Because it doesn't work that way. We have, when we're changing the integers and changing the percentages, we have to react accordingly. So again, the answer to this particular one, the answer is B, boy. Now, let's do this. Let's use another scenario here, okay? Let's say we have 100 minus 20%. What does that come to? 80. So that means 80 plus 20%, I'll be back at 100 again. Am I?
No.
What's 20% plus, it's what, 96%. Why? Because we haven't changed, we're looking at 20% of 100 here, we're looking at 20% of 80 here. We have to adjust it. We have to adjust our integers or adjust our percentage, or we're not going to end up back at 100 again. So let's do this. What happened first in time? We started with 100, right? What happened second in time? We subtracted 20% and ended up at 80. What is 80? 80 is this figure, which is our whole amount. This is what happened first in time also, what, right? Happened first in time.
Yeah.
100, so we have 100, and this figure is our 100% figure minus 20%, or 80% of the figure we're looking for. Does that work? Try it. 80 divided by 80%. Does that get us back to 100? Try it and see. Is that cool? I mean, just knowing how to use and when to use percentages. When you're using different percentages backed up against different integers, and what happens. Okay, now, we talk about points every session. Every session we talk about points, because in every deal you do where there's a loan, you will have points. Okay, let's go to number 12. A rectangular piece of ground, oh, we did number 12. How about number 13? A seller wishes to net $845,950 for the sale of her property if her broker is to receive a fee of 4% of the selling price and allowance of $50 for expenses. What must the selling price be? Now this is tricky. What we have to do is have that net that they need, whatever that net is, and add all their expenses to it. We only have one expense here, $845,950 plus $50. What's that come to?
846.
$846,000. That's what he needs to net after he pays the broker a 4% commission. So it is this figure here. This figure is what he has to sell it for. We don't know what he has to sell it for, but we know he has to sell it for the whole amount. The 100%, right? What's this figure? That's the amount he's got to sell it for after he pays a 4% commission, or 96% of what we're looking for. So this figure divided by 96% will tell us what we need to sell that property for, and the answer comes out to D dog. 881,250. Let's do one real similar to it. Number 16. Number 16. A seller nets $83,200 after a commission of 7% and closing costs of $500 have been paid. What was the selling price? I'm going to let you guys do this one on your own. What's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to add $500 to his net, aren't you?
Yes.
Then now go for it. Lay it on me when you get it.
B.
90?
90,000. B.
I like it. Who's totally lost on this one? And again, on the state exam, you might have many expenses. Closing costs, cleaning up the house, doing some repairs, all of these things. And those are all added to what he has to net from the house. And that's, again, what he has to sell it for to make, what does he have to sell it for to make that amount? You subtract out the commission last. So on this one, on number 16, again, we start out with 82,200 plus 500, so we have 83,700. And this is what he needs to net after paying his broker 7%. But that figure is 100% minus 7%, or 93% of the figure we're looking for. Top to bottom, you divide. 93,700 divided by 93%. Let's go back to number 15. Number 15. J has a 2-acre tract of land that she is subdividing into lots. She plans to make each lot 60 feet by 190 feet in depth. If she provides a street 20 feet wide by 210 feet in depth, how many full lots will J be able to market? This is a good one. If you're going to be doing any development out there in subdivisions, you've got to know how to break that down. So let's do this one together. First of all, we have to find out how many acres, how many square feet do we have to work with? How do we do that?
560.
43,560 times 2 acres gives us
87,120.
87,120. Everybody happy with that? And then
Minus that.
she's going to have this street, right? That's this street, which is 20 feet by 210 feet.
4,200.
That's 4,200. So we have to subtract that from that, don't we?
Yeah. Then divide by 11,400.
And what's that come to?
82,920.
82,920. Then,
Divide by 11,000.
now we have to figure out how big the lots are. There's 60 times 190, which comes to
11,400.
11,400. And so we take this amount and divide it by 11,400, and that gives us how much? 7.27 lots. Do we round that up or down? Down, because we have 7 lots that size with a little bit left over. Okay, let's go to number 28. 28. How many 60 by 100 foot lots can be developed out of 8.5 acres if 58,260 square feet are to be reserved for open space and streets?
28.
Okay, so we take 43,560 times 8.5, 43,560
It's
300,000
times,
7260.
yeah, times 8.5, which gives us
372,260.
370,260 square feet. And we have to subtract out the amount for streets, open space, whatever. So minus 58,260. What's that give us?
312,000.
312,000 even. 312,000. So that $312,000, and the lots are 60 by 100. The lots are 6,000. So we divide that by 6,000, or by
6,000.
again by 6,000. That's how big the lots are, and that gives us 52 lots. 52 lots. That's just a matter of plowing through that one. Just take it step by step and by step. Slow and easy. Okay. let's go back to number 18. Number 18. Number 18. If a property sold for $525,000 and an owner made a 50% profit, what did he pay for it? See if you can work it out yourself. Tell me what you got.
Can't be.
B. 350,000.
Who needs a minute? Now let's do it here. First of all, again, almost one that we can't do without the circle. He said that he sold this property for $525,000, which represents a 50% profit. We don't know what he paid for it, but we know he paid 100%, right? What is this figure? That's what he paid for it after he made a 50% profit, okay? So this figure is 150% of the figure we're looking for. 525,000 divided by 150% or 1.5. You'll get the same thing. And the answer is 350,000. You can take every one of those answers and add 50% to it and see which comes out to the 525,000. That's one way to check it to make sure you got your right answer too. Let's do another one real similar to it, number 35. 35. If a restaurant sold for $67,000, including a 50% profit, what did the seller pay for it? You're on your own.
Which number are we on?
On 35. And 67,000 divided by 1.5, or 150%. Either way, it can come out the same. And the answer, of course, is C. You're going to have one of these on the state exam, guys. Big smile. Nail these, okay? They're not tough. Just think, take a breath, and make sure you're doing it right. You're going to be fine on these. Let's go to number 19.
C.
Let's go to number 19, guys. Which of the following transactions involves the highest leverage? What leverage is simply OPM, other people's money. Leverage is OPM, other people's money. The more highly leveraged I am, the more profit I make on my investment. When I'm using other people's money, they're the ones taking the risk. And what we do to figure out what this is, what the leverage is, OPM, other people's money, let's look at this. Which of the following transactions involve the highest leverage? We have A, $107,750 with a $97,750 loan. You take the loan and divide it by the sales price. What's that come to? What'd you get? 0.9072. How do you change that into a percentage?
So the
Move the decimal over to the right.
91%.
Yeah, so let's just keep it. So 90.72%. That's A. How about B? We have two loans on B, and we add those together. 65,500 plus 22,500. And what's that come to?
88,000.
88,000, and we divide that by 95,500. What's that come to?
92.15%.
92.15%. So which one of those is more highly leveraged?
B.
B is. Because we're using more of other people's money. It could be the bank's money, credit union's money, just other money besides ours. And then we have 108,500 sales price. Then we have 3 loans. We have a first and a second and a purchase money of 10,000. Any loan that's used to purchase the property is a purchase money mortgage. And we add all 3 of those together and divide it by the 108,500. What's that come to?
93.8%.
93.89, thereabouts, okay. And then we have D, which is all cash, that's 0 leverage. So our answer is C. Our answer is C. How we doing? Who's lost on this? Okay, again, we're talking about leverage, using other people's money to make money. Let's do this. Let's say that I buy this house. And I buy this house, I buy 2 houses today, $100,000, okay? One of them I pay cash for it. I pay $100,000 cash. The other one, I only put down 10%. So I put 10% down. Next year, this home goes up 10% in value. So next year it goes up $10,000. For the house I paid cash for, I make 10% on my money. The one that I pay 10% down, $10,000, I double my money. I make 100% on my investment. Because my investment is only $10,000 and it went up $10,000. So that's how leverage works to our advantage. That make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to number 34. And here's one just like that one, only different. And 34, which of the following transactions has the most leverage? I'm going to let you guys play with this for 5 minutes.
This one's 20% is paying down. This one. That's already paying just 10%. I'll check the fees and the purchase and
Do we have a presenter today? Should we do it? Number 34. Purchase price $125,000 for cash, 0 leverage. So it's not A. How about B? What'd you get?
90.2.
90.28, thereabout. And C, they gave it to us. You didn't have to figure this one out. Right? 80% loan to value. And then D dog is 76.15. And the answer, of course, is B boy, 90.28%.
I guess I did get it.
What's that?
I didn't even have to figure it. You look at it and
Well, it is. Yeah, that's really, it's really, you know, it looks like it's this huge, monstrous problem. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Take it step by step by step. Break it down. Let's go back to number 20. 20. A is buying a new home before the sale of his old home closes. He secured a swing loan of 70%, we'll talk about that in a minute, of his equity in the home, which is worth $118,500. His current loan is $61,000. The new home will cost $196,000. He's obtaining an 80% loan. What will be his out-of-pocket costs? What will his out-of-pocket cost be to close on his new home if his closing costs are $13,700? This is where, and this is going to happen to you. It might happen to you or one of your clients. They have a home that they have to sell before they can buy a new home, but they don't want to wait. And these people are strong enough to pull the equity out of their present home and use that as a down payment for the new home they're buying. How much are they going to need out of pocket to make this happen? The first thing we do is we take the equity. How do we find the equity on this house? How much is it worth? $118,500. How much does he owe on it? $61,000. So, what's that come to? $57,500 is what he's got equity in his house. Now he's only going to be able to use 70% of that. So that times 70%, what's that come to? $40,250. There. So now he has $40,250 to work with. Now, how much is it going to cost to buy the new home? The new home is $196,000. And he's putting down, it's an 80% loan, so how much does he have to put down?
20.
Times 20%, or what's that come to? Times 20% comes to $39,200. So he's in pretty good shape until we hit him with the $13,700 in closing costs. We add those together. So what's he got to come up with? All together, add those two together, $52,900. We subtract out what he's pulling out of his current home, minus $14,250. So he's got to come out of pocket with $12,650. Now this one, like I said, you're probably going to run into this. This might be one you'll do yourself sometime. You'll pull an equity out of one property to buy another one. Okay, we did number 21. Let's go to 22. The annual gross rent multiplier of 7.2 was used to obtain a value of $296,640 on a property. What's that? 22. What was the gross annual income? This is a gross rent multiplier. How many units are we appraising if we're using a gross rent multiplier? Remember, 4 or less residential properties, we're using a gross rent multiplier. What if we're appraising 5 or more? Or a commercial property, what do we use? Capitalization rate. Okay, now, whenever you have someone who's not an appraiser working on a math equation, it's usually a disaster. This is a disaster. Okay. What he's doing, he's calling it a gross rent multiplier, but that's the gross income multiplier. That's the income per year. A gross rent multiplier an appraiser uses on monthly income to figure the value. Gross income multiplier is the gross income per year. And appraisers don't even use that anymore. But if you see this one on the state exam, guys, take the value, $296,640, and just divide it by that 7.2. not 7.2%, just that 7.2. And on the state exam, you're going to have one virtually identical to this. Take a breath, okay? It's wrong. It's worded wrong. On the state exam, you're going to have between 8 and 12 questions that are wrong. Some of them are really wrong. Some of them are just a little bit wrong. This one is really wrong, but if you can just remember to take the price divided by the multiplier, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. The answer is 41,200. 23. If properties are assessed at 35% of market value, what is the assessed value of a property that has 2,200 square feet and is valued at $46 per square foot and a lot valued at $32,000? What do you want to do first on this one?
Which number?
We are on 23.
You multiply the square footage by the,
Price per,
I like it. 2,200 times 46, right? 2,200 times 46, what's that come to?
101,200.
101,200.
then you add the lot value.
And then we throw the lot in, plus 32,000. What's that come to?
133,200.
133,200. Now, and then we got what? And then it says what? It's assessed at 35% of that. So that figure right there, 133,200 times 35%,
46,620.
comes out to 46,620. Okay, let's break this down, guys. Let's break this down. On the state exam, you could have one like this. Then they're going to ask you to figure out what the taxes are on this property. And in real life, you've got to know how to figure out your taxes on your own property, make sure they're right, and other people's property too. And you're going to look very, very cool when you know this, because very few people do. Let's break it down. What is this called? There's 101,200.
Market value.
That is the market value or market price. Who says it is? The assessor. The county assessor says this. Why am I calling it two different names?
Because the market value is determined by the market.
No, the opposite.
Okay,
Actually, Elizabeth,
that's why I was hesitating.
No, that's good though. That's good. It's wrong, but it's good. Good try.
You're on good.
We take the
Sold in the last year.
what's that now?
The market price.
Very good. Yeah. What Becca said. This is what this figure. If it's the market price, is because it's sold maybe in the last year for 101,200. So the assessor says, "Cool. I got somebody who put their money where their mouth is and bought this property for that. That's got to be what this property's worth." Or this could be a market value determined by the county assessor. And who determines market value? And who determines market
Oh,
value?
Appraiser.
What determines market? The market itself, the market. Boy, guys, you're going to have those on the state exam. Both of those. Don't let them get you. One more time. Who determines market value? The appraiser. What determines market value? The market. The market. So we have, again, let's break it down. Market value or market price times, plus the land. I got to hear myself. This is the what? The assessed value of the property. This is the market value or the
Market price.
market price. And I misspoke again. That's not the
It's not
market
assessed.
value. That is, again, the market. That is the market value or the market price. We times it by an assessment ratio. In this case, 35%. And that gives us our assessed value for tax purposes of $46,620. That's not what that home is worth. That's what the tax base is based on, after you subtract your multiplier. From there, we multiply that by
Mill levy.
a mill levy, and that gives you the taxes. And a mill is 1/10 of 1%. There's 10 mills in 1%. One more time. There's 10 mills in 1%. So if they said that this is the assessed value of the property, and the assessment on it is 4%, how many mills is that? 40. What if they said it was 30 mills? What would be the percent?
3%.
3%. Okay. So how are we doing with that? Now, the mills, again, don't let the mills get you. We talk about this a lot in this course so that you'll be able to talk to people about what a mill is. Because out there, people don't know what a mill is. You know, this is a voting year. And what's going to happen is that inevitably there's going to be something on the ballot where if you vote this in a higher tax for RTD, a higher tax for light rail or something, that's going to raise all of your sales taxes by 5 mils. So how much is that going to raise your sales taxes?
0.5%.
By 1/2%. Because there's 10 mils and 1%. So it's going to raise it 5 mils. It's going to raise your sales tax, right? It's from 8 to 8.5 is what it would be. It would raise it by 0.5%. Because again, there's 10 mils and 1%. It's going to raise it 5 mils and be 0.5%. I see some confusion. How are we doing? Kind of makes sense? We're going to talk about this many more times. Okay? So, the answer to 23, of course, is C. Now, 25 is tougher than any. You don't need to know that one. The answer is C if you want to play with it. In fact, in the finals, guys, I'll tell you right now, I have a couple 3 questions in there. Really tough math questions, way beyond what you need for the state exam. But there's some math geeks who like to play with math, so I threw them in there. And if you read them and go, this must be one of the ones he talked about in class, I have no clue, just keep going on with the next one. But some of you guys who really dig math, I threw them in there for your benefits, for your enjoyment. So you can get in there and dig those killer math questions. Now, what 26 and 27 are, guys, is something called prorations. And starting tomorrow, we're going to start on prorations. A week from now, you guys will be experts in prorations. Let's go to number 28. We did 28, actually. 29. The answer to 26 is C. The answer to 27 is D, dog, if you just want to mark those. And after you get your prorations down, you can go do them yourself. 29. 29. Vacant lots are being appraised at $3.15 per square foot plus $30 per front foot. What would be the value of a 55 by 110 foot lot? The front foot is always the first figure they give you. So it's a 55 by 110 foot lot. The front foot is 55 feet. Maybe it's a lot that maybe fronts to a lake or something, and there's a nice beach out there or something, and or whatever. Because it fronts to the lake, they get a better price per front foot because of it. So let's take a look at this. Vacant lots are being appraised at $3.15 per square foot plus $30 per front foot. What would be the value of a 55 by 110 foot lot? The first thing we'll do is figure out what the main value of this lot is. 110 times 55 comes to 6,050 times $3.15. What's that come to? $19,057.50. And then we have the front foot, 30 times 55. 30 times 55, and that comes to 1650. We add those together.
20,707.50.
I like it. Okay. So 20,707.50. Expect to see one of these on the state exam. We're going to go through several of these as we're going through the entire course. You guys will be ready. Just remember what that front foot is. Maybe it's a downtown lot where the value of that lot is the windows that you can put your stuff in for the people that walk by. So there's a lot of places where you have a cost per front foot on a lot. Yeah.
You said that the front foot is always the first number?
Yes.
Okay.
The front foot is always not the largest or the larger, it's always the first one that they give you. I remember back when I first got my license, I was waiting tables with a couple of buddies, and I were kind of partners at this one restaurant. And so I got my license, and we were going to be big shot investors. So we put this money in this pot, we were going to buy some properties. Anyway, there was this one lot, and it was right outside of downtown, and it was like $9,500. So we went in there and we offered him $9,000 for this lot. And the guy called me up the next day and said, well, you offered us $9,000 for this lot. I said, yes, I did. And that's as high as we're going to go. And they said, if you look at that a little closer, the price of that lot is $95,000. Really? You know, the big shot investor, you know? Crazy. Let's go to number 30. Number 30. If a broker sells a property where the commission rate is 5% of the first 500,000, 4% of the next 500,000, and 3% of any sales price over the first million, what would be the sales price of a property if the broker received $126,500 after paying another broker 45% of the total commission earned? Should we do that one together?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we should too. Let's figure out how much he paid on the first $1 million that he sold. He made $500,000, and he made what? He made 5% on the first, so 5% of that comes to 25,000. Then 500,000. They made 4%, which comes to 20,000. So 20,000 plus 25,000, he made $45,000 on the first million. It also said that the total commission was 45%, was what was left after he paid another broker 45%. And the other broker, $126,500, $126,500, and we divide that by, you almost can't do without the circle again, 55%. 45 from 100 is 55%. Top to bottom you divide. So what's the total commission on this deal? 230,000. Everybody happy with that? 230,000 was the total commission. Okay. Now, he said he made 5% on the first 500,000, 4% on the next $500,000, and 3% of everything on the rest. How much did he have to sell to make the balance? So we have to take $1 million worth of commission away from this 230,000, which is 45,000. 230,000 minus 45,000. What's that come to? How much? $185,000. That's how much he made at 3% commission. So let's draw the old circle down here. 3%. 185,000 divided by 3%. What's that come to?
616,666.
Got your decimal off just a touch.
6,166,600.
6,166,667. And you look at C, and there it is, and you're just so happy. Are we done? Don't we have to throw this $1 million back in there? Didn't we take out $1 million worth of commission? So we add $1 million to this. We add $1 million to it. So the actual answer is 7,166,667. Now, on the state exam, I have not seen this equation for several years, but it's still there, guys. There's a chance you're going to get this. Now, if you do, you can spend half an hour beating your head against the wall trying to figure this out, or just remember D. Okay. Let's go to number 32. And you're going to have one of these on the state exam for sure. When you do, big smile. These are really easy. You're going to love these. Number 32. Calculate the salesperson's commission if a salesperson receives a 4-to-3 split of the 7% total commission with the broker, and the salesperson's total sales reach $1,025,000. So let's do this one together. Let's figure out what the total commission is. How do we do that?
The sale times 7%.
1,025,000 times 7%, which comes to 71,750. Now that's the total commission.
Divide by 7.
Divide by 7.
What's that? Yeah, now we divide it by the parts. How many parts do we have? We have 4 parts and 3 parts. We divide it by 7 to see how much each part is worth. What's that come to?
10,250.
10,250. Everybody see how I got that? 10,000, again, 250. And then I multiply it by the parts I'm looking for, times 4. So the answer on this is
A.
41,000. What if it was a 5-to-3 split?
Divided by 8.
Divided by 8. It was a 6-to-3 split. Divided by 9. You just take the parts, divide the total commission by the parts. That'll tell you how much each part is worth, and just multiply accordingly. Piece of cake. Don't miss that one on the state exam, guys. These are easy. We're going to do several more of these, not just today, but during the course. We'll do several of these on our exams that we're taking. We'll have several of those. 33. B buys an income-producing property, and the building is valued at $120,000. If the building has an estimated 30-year life, what would be the first year's depreciation if B could write off double the straight line rate? Now, this is for tax depreciation, not for actual real estate depreciation. When you depreciate your properties for tax purposes, after 30 years, they're totally depreciated out, where you can't use that depreciation anymore. Well, what's that property worth? It's gone up probably several times what the guy paid for it. So in this particular scenario, we have to figure out how much the depreciation is per year. How do we do that? 120,000
Divided by 30?
divided by 30 years. How much depreciation is that per year?
4,000.
$4,000. And they said on the first year it's going to be twice that much.
So
$8,000. $8,000. Almost too easy. What do you think? Any questions on that one? And notice that 4,000 is one of the answers. If you forget to times that by 2, there's the wrong answer staring at you. Yes, D-dog. We did 34, we did 35, 36. Now this is a really good one, because we use this virtually every time. We use this virtually every deal we do. We've got to estimate people's closing costs. We know what their down payment is, but we need to estimate their closing costs. So let's run through this. In the following scenario, calculate how much the buyer will need to bring to closing to acquire the property. Purchase price $95,000, loan 90%. The purchaser will pay 3.5 points and half of the closing cost of $1,741. The buyer will also pay $283 for mortgage insurance. The buyer puts down a deposit of $4,000. Let's figure out what the down payment is first. How do we do that?
95,000 less the deposit.
95,000 and it's a 90% loan, so times 10%, right? Now, so which is 9,500. So there's this down payment, 9,500 over here. There's this down payment, 9,500. Now, and then we have to take the, we have to get what, there's 3.5 points. How do we figure out those points?
1%.
We have to get down to the loan amount, don't we? So we get down to the loan amount. We have 95,000 times 90% minus 9,500 if you want to. Any way you want to do it, there's so many different ways. So we just take the 95,000 minus 90%, and that gives us our loan amount of how much? 85,500, and it's what, 3.5 points times 3.5%. What's that come to?
$2,992.50.
$2,992.50. So we add this up here too. 2,992.50. Okay, so we have his points and his down payment. He's also paying half of the closing costs. So we have 1,741 divided by 2. What's that come to? $870.50. Make sense? Now, what else? What are we missing? Anything?
Mortgage insurance.
The $283 for the mortgage insurance, right? So $283. We add all those up. What does that come to? $13,646. Everybody see that? How we got that figure? And he's already given us $4,000. So we subtract $4,000 from that. How much does he have to bring to closing? A. $9,646. Now, like I mentioned, you have to estimate your client's closing costs. It doesn't have to be exact, it's an estimation. And the way to estimate closing costs, guys, is this. If the loan amount is less than $186,000, if the loan amount is less than $186,000, your closing costs are going to be about 3.5%. If your closing costs are over $186,000, they're going to be about 3%. And you can use 185,000 or 80,000. I'm just kind of using 180,000, 185,000, just keeping it kind of in the same ballpark. Because, $1 million houses, the recording fees are the same for $1 million house as they are for a $50,000 condo. That's why it's a lesser of a percentage of the whole. So that's how you're going to figure out your closing costs with your clientele. So this one, the answer, of course, is A on this.
Could you repeat that if the loan is over 185,000?
Let's say if the loan is, let's keep it 180. You'll keep it kind of more even. If the loan amount is under 180,000, your closing costs are going to be about 3.5%. If your closing costs are over 180,000, they're going to be about 3%. And that, see, we always, in your close, you always have your closing costs and you always have your down payment. Any other questions on that? Okay. Before we end this one session here, 90% of everybody on Earth lives within 50 miles of this. What do you think? Your house? Lives within 50 miles of your house, you better.
Their work.
Your work,
Gas
What
station.
What was the question?
gas station.
Where they were born.
How many people, 90% of everybody on earth lives within 50 miles of this. Who said where you were born? That's true. Where you were born.
Wow.
90%?
90%. Now, does that work for Colorado? How many people in here live within 50 miles of where you were born?
I'm the farthest.
4 of us out of what, 30-some people in here. We're all about a bunch of transplants in Colorado, pretty much. Anyway. Okay, guys, that's the end of math lesson 1. And go ahead and take a break, then we'll get with it. Do number 2.